Coming up on Tech News Today, it looks like the Verizon iPhone may have finally gotten a real honest-to-goodness date. We'll tell you about the note from Verizon inviting reporters out to New York. Also, it looks like Facebook's going to have an IPO, not till 2012, but we'll tell you the details behind that, and the ability to control a video game with just the movements of your eyes. It's a glance revolution coming up next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Friday, January 7th, 2011. Tech News Today is brought to you by Ford, introducing the all-new 2012 Ford Focus Electric with voice-activated sync and My Ford Touch, featuring gas-free power, zero CO2 emissions, and battery management technology that lets you go the distance. Learn more at focuselectricpower.com. And by Gazelle, the easy way to sell or recycle the used gadgets lying around your home or office. For a 5% bonus payment for your used gadgets, go to gazelle.com, bonus code TWiT. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Becky Worley.
I'm Jason Hiner.
And this is the show where we kick around the tech news of the day along with you, try to make sense of it all live from CES.
Whoop, whoop.
Well, we're live every day, but we're at CES.
Yes, we are.
Consumer
In fact,
Electronics
it's
Show.
right behind us.
That's who's been sneaking up on us. It's the entire
Look
South
at all
Hall
these people.
Lower of CES 2011. Sarah and Becky and Jason Hiner have been prowling the show floor along with myself. Jason, welcome, Editor-in-Chief of Tech
Thank you.
Republic. Good to have you back on the show again.
Always a pleasure.
Let's start out with something that has nothing to do with CES.
I knew it would happen.
Yeah, this,
It didn't
it's
take long
funny.
either. It's only Friday.
Usually it's Apple setting the world on its ear during CES. They're like the little child that's ignored in the corner, jumping up and down. Everyone thought, it was the launch of the App Store, the Mac App Store. That was their attention-getting plea this time.
Yeah.
But now Verizon has sent out a note today. This is a full day after their keynote and press event, saying that they're going to have a special announcement Tuesday, January 11th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time in New York City. And all it says is, join us as we share the latest news from Verizon Wireless. Isn't that what they just did yesterday?
Apparently not. I think the real key to this is they sent this to a number of bloggers who are like Mac-only, bloggers or, Mac-centric.
Oh, well, that's interesting. Why would they, what could they be coming out with that they would send to?
They would have an effect on the Apple
Mac-only
ecosystem.
people? Yeah.
Anybody, any ideas? Anyone?
That iPad carriage, like an update in the pricing plan?
A
you think?
Verizon 3G MacBook Air.
That's it.
A new bumper.
Oh.
That would be nice.
Yes, a nice bumper for the AT&T iPhone from
Well,
Verizon.
A bumper
it would
price
be
drop.
appreciated.
Yeah,
That's all I'm saying.
It's just a gesture of friendship.
Okay, I'm putting the odds 79% iPhone on Verizon.
Oh, I would put it I'd put it higher.
Really?
I'd put it more like 87%.
What are these weird
97.5.
arbitrary numbers?
Well, Becky and I are very good at
87?
calculating to
That's right.
precision
Well, yes.
the percentages of things.
So here's the start of my name-dropping orama. I had a heck of a day yesterday. So I had dinner with the CEO of Verizon last night and his wife, and I sat next to his wife the whole time, and I'm like this. So when's it coming out? When's the iPhone coming out? I asked her like 3 times. She was a rock. She was stone cold. I got nothing here, people. I know nothing.
So
Because she's doing the same thing when they get home. Ivan, please tell me.
She
When
actually
is the
doesn't
Verizon
know.
iPhone
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
out? No, I can't tell you, dear. You'll crack.
I
I know
know.
you will.
I
So
know.
why didn't you just steal his phone, go into the bathroom, check the calendar,
Right.
Should have done.
Read his email.
call yourself a tech
forward them.
reporter? I mean, come on.
I really, I dropped the ball, guys. I just want to tell the TWiT army that I let you down, people.
I initially really thought that this announcement was going to come from Apple. But more and more, as people keep talking about it, it does make sense that this would be a Verizon thing and that Apple would kind of go, meh, go ahead.
Yeah, because it's just
not
a
our
carrier
announcement.
announcement.
Yeah.
That's a good
It's
point.
not a new phone. It really doesn't have much to do with Apple besides them saying, yes, we're going to enter into this deal.
If Apple does the announcement themselves, I think it undermines their confidence that they've tried to display all along in AT&T.
Right.
What it does is it fundamentally says, okay, you guys were right. The iPhone on AT&T kind of sucked. We're going to make a big deal about announcing it on Verizon. Uncle. So if they let Verizon do it, maybe it's a face-saving move.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in New York. They have rented the Lincoln Center, so it's not like, they're not just,
It's not a quiet little room.
Exactly. It's not a quiet little room in, the Marriott. So I expect that there'll be somebody from Apple there, if not Jobs, that, will be making this a big deal because they know that it is a big deal. It's a big deal for both of them. It's a big deal that their businesses have aligned to the point that they're ready to really work together. So
also, Boy Genius Report says that Apple has narrowed the blackout date for employee vacation requests to between February 3rd and February 6th. Usually they black out vacation requests around the launch of a new product. So that would indicate that we might actually see the Apple iPhone on Verizon launch February 3rd.
One problem with this, though, is we're not expecting it to be LTE. We're expecting it to be CDMA. And I used the HTC Thunderbolt yesterday, which is on LTE, and was absolutely stunned by how fast it is. I mean, it's like desktop speed. It's loading web pages in like 1 to 3 seconds instead of 5 to 10 seconds. And it is staggering. It is faster than the iPhone 4 on a great Wi-Fi connection. It's amazing.
This is a trend that I didn't expect here. I knew we were going to see high-speed phones, 4G phones, but this concept of the super phone, this is a real surprise for me here at the show, is how ubiquitous it's been. We've seen that crazy phone docking thing from...
So you've bought into the superphone term?
I like superphone.
Because they've tried to make it stick before. The Motorola Droid was originally a superphone.
Nexus 1 was originally the superphone.
Okay, why I've bought in is because it's network and hardware. And so I buy it. I buy it as a little tablet.
All right.
I don't like the term, but I think we have some really higher end phones that are pretty
If not
impressive.
called super phones, they're in a class of their own.
Yeah.
They're beyond smart.
Earlier today, Ford's Alan Mullally talked with Leo Laporte. We did an interview with him, and then he went on stage to deliver the keynote and announced the Ford Focus Electric with My Ford Mobile smartphone integration. The Electric is an all-electric car similar to the Chevy Volt or the Nissan Leaf. Can be recharged on a 240-volt outlet in 4 hours, which is faster than the Leaf, or the Leaf takes up to 7 hours.
Which is, that's a really big selling point, because 7 hours is, to me, it means overnight, or I don't have a lot of room to wiggle if I'm at the office. I got to stay. When we come and go from the cottage, we're not there for 7 hours sometimes. But 4 hours gives you a lot more flexibility. I'm somewhere for 4 hours a lot more often than I am for 7.
Yeah,
that matters.
I think it's a big deal. The laws of physics are that batteries are not going to get a lot better, but one of the things that is changing, the innovation that is kind of happening, is charging is getting a lot faster, and that makes a big deal. If you can recharge, a phone to a full charge in 10 minutes, that's like having a lot of extra power. Same thing with a car. It's even more significant. If you can recharge a car very quickly, then all of a sudden, your perceived mileage for that, is better.
One of the cool things about this announcement was the app that they're announcing that you can put on your smartphone that allows you to figure out what the charge on your car is remotely. It's one of the best uses for an auto app that I've seen, and it kind of solidifies that trend of auto and app coming together. That makes sense to me. What's the status of my car? Oh, I forgot. Am I full charge? Am I quarter charge? Oh, it's charging. I'm in the office. Let me see how close to full charge it is.
Yeah, I like the idea that you could schedule it and say, you know what, I'm not going to need this car until 7 in the morning, and then it will automatically charge itself at the cheapest time in order to be at a full charge by the time you need it.
Smart, really.
They're also giving sort of a delicate approach to your driving habits. If you drive a little bit better, there'll be more butterflies.
Right. What is with the butterflies?
That are supposed to signify better range.
It's
which
a
is
very
funny
gentle
because
feedback system.
when I first read that, to me, butterflies mean nervousness in my stomach.
I know, yeah.
So it's a little confusing, but I guess it's sort of that happy fuzzy.
And if you're wondering where am I going to get a charging station, Ford is going to partner with Leviton and Best Buy to sell the charging stations. They are $1,500, so add that to the price of the car when you're checking this out.
This makes sense to me as someone who has solar on my house. I could totally see how I could max out my solar array and use this to power my car I would invest that. That would pay itself back in a
You'd be
heartbeat.
off the grid. I mean, that's what's kind of cool to think. Like, if you're getting solar and you're using it to pass, like, you're totally off the grid then. That's pretty neat.
I've actually thought about that too, because it would be a generator for me if I ever had an outage. If I keep my power in my car's battery and I could figure out an inverter to run it back into my house off the car, I've suddenly had the ability to go in an emergency situation totally off the grid.
Dang, that's really geeky. I love it.
Yeah, that was in our best of.
Yeah. I ran all my podcasting gear off the minivan. I'll give you the inside scoop.
Ford's being vague on the release date, but it looks like 2011 in the U.S., late 2011 in the U.S. for the Ford Focus Electric, and 2013 in Europe. If you're wondering about the range, it's only 100 miles. That's pretty typical for these electric cars. So it's not something that everybody's going to be comfortable with. You know, a lot of people want 200, 300 mile ranges, but it is enough to get you to work and back in most cases.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's
Not-
like the
not
second
mine.
car. I think this is going to start as like in like households as like the second car. You can have the one car that okay, if we got to go longer distance, we can hop in the car and use
Right.
that, and then the other one for around town. One or the other,
Commuter car.
spouse, significant other will use to get back and forth.
I totally agree. That's an
100
end use
miles
thing.
will get you to work and back. Gets me to work and back, and I live a lot
Not
farther
on
away than
every
you.
other Tuesday when I have to go into San Francisco and shoot
Oh,
in the
right.
morning.
Mr. Popularity
and then I have to
has
go
a busy
all the way to Petaluma.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
All right. Point taken.
At CES, it's not always about product announcements. The digital entertainment content ecosystem. I actually talked about this on Buzz Out Loud last year at CES when they tried to get everyone excited about DRM. But they are giving more details on Ultraviolet, which they say they're going to release within 6 months. And the idea of Ultraviolet is not as bad as it sounds. It's still DRM, so I don't think it's the best way to go. But the idea is that you will get a license for the digital content you purchase that will live in the cloud, and then you can put that movie on any device. So once you own, I don't know, Casablanca, you can put that movie on your laptop, you can put it on your smartphone, they'll eventually have it so that you can stream it without having to download it, and if you lose it, if it gets deleted in a hard drive crash, you can re-download it. Plus, they give you 6 licenses per household. So if you got a large family, you can have different people have different licenses and license it for up to 12 devices. And the way I read it, it works like Apple. Apple licenses you to 5 devices, but you can deauthorize and reauthorize.
Right. I was on a panel with Jim Taylor from Sonic, and they do the back end for all these content delivery systems, and they are so behind this because, for them, they want that user value and that multi-platform experience. And you talked about this as an ecosystem. One of the things that I'm picking up from the show is that is the word of the show that I've found as being the buzzword for people, because whether it's content, whether it's systems that talk to each other, whether it's tablet, phone, TV, there are ecosystems that people want to have their content work across all of them. That is a huge theme here, and that's where I think this is really important and salient to the show.
Now, on something like an iPad, you can get this content through an app, but not through iTunes, because
Apple isn't a part.
is again in the corner saying, I don't want to play.
And Disney also is not signed on.
No, wait a minute. Do Apple and Disney have some sort of something common?
I don't know how they would or why.
Picks to the R.
Would somebody in one company be on the board of the other?
Maybe.
Named Steve?
Steve.
One person is the primary
Ballmer?
shareholder.
Twisting
in
an
both.
arm, perhaps.
Yeah,
Don't
exactly.
you cave to DEC.
Actually, I think Ultraviolet, if you're going to do DRM, is probably the best way to do it. It's trying to fade into the background. It's trying to be like things that we're used to with DRM, things like apps, things like Xbox games, where it doesn't get in the way. But frankly, it's probably not going to work as well as these. I'm not saying it won't. I'm willing to watch and see how it goes. I like the idea of once I own it, and I just have to go and check in and download to get it. But I think it's not going to work as well. Systems are going to fail. The ability to play it offline might be a problem, in which case, really, you are going to have the same piracy problem with DECE as you will without it. With the Ultraviolet or not.
It's still going to primarily punish the people who play by the rules.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the problem.
Well, but I'm not 100% sure about that, because the people who want to pirate it will pirate it, and this may actually make things easier for a segment of the population who can manage the content over multiple devices. I think there may still be a group that's just overwhelmed and not sure how to share it.
I think you're right, but for the people that it does get in the way of, if it doesn't work seamlessly, they're going to turn back to piracy. And if you really want to get the most people off of pirating content, you give it to them DRM free,
You make it
so they
easy.
can put it wherever they want. But you know what? It does solve the transcoding problem, and that's something that just going DRM-free wouldn't necessarily do, because the idea is this is a format that will work in multiple locations, because you'll just be able to go get a different version of it without having to actually convert the file. And that's a nice service that's being offered. I'll give them that.
Yeah, true.
All right, Facebook will go public, or at least disclose its financial information by April 2012. This according to a report in the Wall Street Journal. It has to do with this investment from Goldman Sachs we've been hearing about. And essentially, there was a document made available to investors in Facebook making it clear that Facebook will likely be a publicly traded company in 2012, but if not, they will have to disclose financial information to the SEC. So it looks like we're going to have a Facebook IPO next year.
That would be insane.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's going to happen.
You really?
Yeah, it's going to happen. I think it ultimately has to happen for a lot of factors. For the investment factor, for the fact that when you get so big, you end up almost having to self-regulate to the point of, like a public company. I think they're holding off as long as they can, and very smartly. I think it is smart that they've held off as long as they can. But they ultimately too, they will start to lose some of their employees if they don't go public. I think as well, some of their talent who's been holding out for the IPO will start to jump if they don't.
Yeah, that's actually a compelling reason I hadn't thought about. I mean, for Mark Zuckerberg to give up control that you have to when you're accountable to shareholders at that level is something that I have a hard time putting my brain around. But given the valuation, you can see the employees chomping at the bit. And the valuation is the big question right now. Henry Blodgett ran the numbers on, is this $500 billion valuation or $300 billion? Where are the numbers? And his final assessment was, given the variables, Facebook is still a wild card. It's really difficult to value this, and so you may only get a real market valuation if you open it up to an IPO.
Well, a customer of Goldman Sachs has leaked out the revenue figures from Facebook that they used to make the valuation, and apparently it was $1.2 billion in revenue during the first 9 months of 2010. So if you extrapolate that, that's $1.6 billion a year. That's a lot of cash.
But did you notice, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but did you notice that the profit margin was actually lower than I thought? That's the revenue number. And I was surprised that the profit margin was as low as it was, because I thought, what are they spending the money on?
They're not ramping up as quickly as Google did at the same period. They talked about, when Google sort of hit that early curve and they figured out how to make money, all of a sudden it was
hockey
like,
puck
boom.
Or hockey stick.
They were, hockey stick. They were just, cashing checks. Facebook really hasn't figured that out yet. I think they've got 24 months till they peak. I think somebody else is going to come along to challenge them. There's enough dissatisfaction with it that I think there will be some, they'll bleed some users, and they still have to figure out their big money maker, and they haven't yet. And I think within 24 months, they will start to lose some of their perceived value. And so I think it's the opportune time, and the investors, I'm sure all of them are telling the same thing, like, you guys are at the top or getting near the top.
Do your IPO
Cash in now.
Yeah, it's really interesting to
that's how
remember
investors think.
how unsatisfying Facebook can be sometimes. For whether you're a technology expert or you're my mom. I mean, Facebook is not perfect. It does not work perfectly. There are a lot of things about it I don't like. And if I had something better that everyone was using, then that's what I would use as well.
We would all at least try it, I think, if there was a compelling alternative.
No way.
No?
Not all. All of us
at this table. Sorry.
At this table.
That's all I meant.
Okay, that was good. I got my one
All of us
hazing
at
of
the
Jason Hiner out.
Nice.
It's out of the way now.
You know what I think? The more I think about this, the idea of giving over control that you were talking about, Becky, and you remember a few months back when there was this big news about how Zuckerberg went over to Steve Jobs' house for dinner, and was Apple going to buy Facebook? No, Apple's not going to buy Facebook. I bet Zuckerberg went to Steve and said, how do you do it?
Yeah.
You're in a public company, and yet you maintain almost total control.
Iron fist.
Totalitarian.
And one of the ways Jobs does it is he has not sold a single share of stock since he started at Apple, started back at Apple back in 1997. He's got enough leverage to say, look, I am a big enough shareholder that what is in the best interest of the company is what I am going to do, and they trust him on that. So I bet Zuckerberg was looking for tips.
Yeah,
that's a great point.
Jobs has done it right, like again and again and again and again. He has so much trust build up that you just can't it takes decades to build that, and nobody else that I can even think of in American business or international business even has that kind of deal. So Zuckerberg has already screwed it up so many times and fixed it to his credit.
Yeah.
In several cases.
Rapid prototyping, we like to call it.
Yeah.
Right.
So Zuckerberg's going to have I think he's in for a tough time. In the sort of longer 3 to 5 year kind of time period. So,
all right, let's take a quick break and thank our sponsor, Ford. They are helping to bring you Tech News Today as well as our CES 2011 coverage. Brought to you by the new, just announced 2012 Ford Focus Electric with voice-activated sync and My Ford Touch. It's an all-electric vehicle. That means it doesn't have a gas engine. It's powered by a lithium-ion battery with high voltage capacity, a higher capacity than the Ford Hybrid Electric and plug-in hybrid. Recharged by plugging it into an electric outlet. You can use a 120-volt outlet to charge it, or you can get a 240-volt outlet upgrade with electric vehicle supply equipment. And it's also charged by regenerative braking like most hybrids, so it gets a little charge while you're driving around just as you slow down. They say it'll offer a miles per charge that's competitive with other electric vehicles on the market, and that'll provide enough driving power between charges for most commutes and getting around town. It may even provide cheaper operation depending on the electric rates in your area and when you charge it, especially if you charge it at night. The all-new 2012 Ford Focus Electric features sync with My Ford Touch, which responds to voice commands and touch controls for battery management now on your electric car, entertainment, climate control, phone, and navigation. So you can easily make calls, play music, manage your battery, all while safely keeping your eyes on the road and your hands on the wheel. Sync understands more than 10,000 voice commands. If you'd like to learn more, there's a new URL. Check out focuselectricpower.com, and thanks to Ford for supporting our special coverage of CES 2011.
A production note here. For those of you listening, there's fantastic background noise going on here, and I've decided
I don't know
that
if they can hear it or not.
There's either a slam poetry competition happening or a hog auction.
I think it's a hog auction. That's what it sounded like to me, yeah.
I like it. It adds ambiance, so I'm enjoying it too.
I thought it was just a hip-hop song.
It's probably a hip-hop hog auction.
I think you're right.
A hip-hog
That
auction.
is awesome.
Yeah.
Hip-hog.
We've coined something here.
Yep.
So Sony finally announced their tablet. We were waiting for that. It's not going to come out here at CES. They're not going to show it off. They're going to wait and do it right and be number 2.
yeah.
Number 2.
Go for the silver.
Well,
Am I wrong in that? Didn't I hear somebody
After
say we're
walking
going to
the
be
floor
the
here
number
at
2
CES.
tablet?
We're going to be number
The
2.
best
with the
number-
hundreds of
Yeah,
tablets available now, I think they've got a fighting chance.
Kunimasa Suzuki said we'd really like to take the number 2 position by 2012.
That is ballsy.
Wow.
It is
Yeah.
ballsy to say we're down for 2.
Does he believe in the Mayan calendar?
Oh, man. All bets are off.
Yeah. I think
what was-
Sony.
We'll be number 2 by then.
I'm
Sure
working on
of
a
it.
post that's going to go on the biggest winners and losers of CES. Sony's definitely on the loser list. Again, they've sort of come and not, come with any kind of vision, any kind of breakthrough product, and they're just not the leader they once were. It's kind of the same thing we feel about Microsoft. It's like, where's the vision? Where's the breakthrough product? Where's the look ahead at where we're going and what's going to make sense? Sony's tying all of its fortunes to 3D, which is already the market is rejected, and so I just don't get it from them.
I had such an insight last night. So this thing I was at, Howard Stringer was there from Sony, and he was. First of all, I got a real glimpse into Sony's corporate culture. It now scares me more than Apple's corporate culture. Like, that is like Japanese corporate warrior, big time. Scared me. I'm like, wow, I couldn't work there. Scary. But the second thing is that Howard Stringer was saying that they're so obsessed inside of Sony at looking backwards and talking about the Walkman and talking about the Trinitron, and that they're obsessed with the Walkman. And then he said, and we're thinking about a head-mounted display that we're going to come out with in the future, and we're going to call it the Headman. And I was like, I think you're joking, but actually that would be interesting from you guys. It's like they're stuck in the past. They're afraid to make a mistake because of their corporate culture. And when they look forward, they see what's cool, but they're afraid to do it.
Well, they had a glasses-free TV. They were showing off a pretty nice 3D Vio laptop with the slick 3D graphics that you have to use the glasses for. And then they had the Headman. They don't have a name for it yet, but that head-mounted 3D display. out there. But like you say, none of those were, except maybe the head-mounted display was a little visionary. I haven't seen that anywhere else. But everything else was sort of a Me Too product, and that's kind of what they're saying is we're going to be number 2.
Yeah.
And
Where's the leadership?
That's what Stringer said. He said they're okay with that. He said we are okay not being first to market, not being cheapest at market, but we just want to be good and try for best. Is that good enough, Jason? I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I don't think so. I still think there's a vision problem, because even if you want to be the best, you got to have products. It's like, okay, what can we do to make better products? What can we do to make our products better, to get a step ahead of the competition, to have the, better quality, and just their refusal to let go of the 3D thing, I think, is troubling. And it's not just them, to be fair. It's a lot of companies here. I was telling you guys before the show, it's like every time somebody says 3D at the show, I just want to do a face palm, again and again. No, the market doesn't want it. So, and the thing with Sony is they've got, I feel similar to like with Microsoft, is like they've got the talent, they've got the history, but they are looking back. I think that's actually a great insight, Becky, is like they're looking back and not looking forward. It's like you have to look forward. And look, I love what, even with some of the weird things that Steve Jobs does, the one great thing he did when he came to Apple is he took all of that old stuff and he sent it to the Computer History Museum. And he said, this is not a company about the past anymore. This is a company about the future.
Now, let's be clear. Sony is still pretty dominant in Japan. I mean, we're looking at this from an American perspective. But, Sony may be happy being number 2 because they are rock solid in their home country.
But I mean, this is just even assuming that they would be the number 2 spot. I don't know. I think that's a real stretch.
Whereas you look at like Asus is going to try to take down the iPad. They're not going for number 2. They said, look, the iPad's not good at content creation, and there aren't enough choices, and we're gonna hit them on both of those things, and we're gonna try to win. Like, that's how you do it. You don't say we're gonna go and try to be number 2.
And also, Sony's resting on their laurels, and I think they can do that for a certain amount of time, but my prediction is in 5 years, Samsung will be the new Sony.
Samsung is definitely on the rise.
Already
There's
is.
someone to watch.
Yeah.
All right, we have talked about Intel's Sandy Bridge line of processors. They got announced pre-CES. But one thing we haven't talked a lot about is Intel Insider. This is the latest version of DRM protection on the chip, and it's probably the most robust version that we've ever seen. There's starting to be a lot of concern that someone might actually use it. It's not the first time we've seen some DRM protection on the chip before, but now people are starting to say, wait a minute, if a major video streaming service like Hulu, or maybe LoveFilm outside of the US, started to use Intel Insider to verify their DRM, that means you would not be able to watch these services unless you had an Intel chip. Unless you had Sandy Bridge in particular.
They're making a big play for entertainment. I mean, there's no doubt about it. If you go to their booth, they've got, Intel Smart TV everywhere, and they're touting Atom. I talked to Paul Otolini yesterday, and he was all about smart TVs is the future of Intel, and they're not joking around. They're going all in.
So I'm going to be the curmudgeon again. Like, they're going in the wrong direction, though. They're like, look, this is my interpretation of it. Look, we've totally been unsuccessful in small processors. We know the whole world is going small. They've been unsuccessful in developing a mobile processor to compete on smartphones and tablets. And so now they're saying, we're going to go take the high end of the market. We're going to take all the multimedia stuff and all of this kind of thing. And you look at, like NVIDIA at this show is absolutely everywhere. Like the NVIDIA Tegra 2 is like, they're in danger of becoming like from Intel's perspective, the Intel of mobile. Like NVIDIA has the right idea. Mobile processors within 3 years are going to outsell like all x86 processors. ARM processors are going to outsell x86 processors by a factor of like 3. And so that's the place you want to be. Intel, to me, this is them focusing on all of the high-end multimedia stuff tells me that they're sort of realizing we've lost on mobile. We have no play, and we can't compete in that market.
Also, if they put in this sort of technology on something like Hulu, they would face an antitrust suit rather quickly, because suddenly, I have an AMD chip in my computer, and now I can't play movies. I mean, there's going to be a huge issue.
Yeah.
And Paid Content today had a study that pointed out that an episode of Lost was the most pirated episode of TV on the net.
But you can get it on the
It was
net.
pirated very little in the United States because it was available for viewing online from ABC.com and from Hulu. Becky
whole
Worley is an
series.
employee of ABC.com. And so, yeah, you could get the whole series. And what they're saying is Hulu's doing a pretty good job of limiting piracy in the U.S. because you give the people a good alternative. They would be stupid to implement something like Intel Insider. So I don't think it's going to happen.
Hey, one quick aside, by the way, on Intel, which is at the end of my big interview with Ottolini about smart TVs, I said, hey, I got a totally unrelated question. Why'd you buy McAfee? And he was like, that's a left turn. And then he said, actually, it does correlate because they feel that, malware is such a challenge to what they're trying to do with embedded chips, and the fact that it's such a challenge for consumers that they have to make it seamless and invisible to consumers, and one of the only ways they can do that is to combine the software and the hardware and make it absolutely invisible and a part of their brand. And they see that as a differentiator between them and the competition, and I think that's also a play for mobile if and when they ever see mobile viruses and malware coming to fruition.
Interesting. They'll have to partner really effectively with the software providers, but I like that idea. I like the concept.
Do you think they'll rename the McAfee Coliseum in Oakland to the Intel Coliseum? Did you ask them that?
McIntel fee.
The McIntel fee Coliseum.
Yeah.
All right. We mentioned Samsung is sort of a rising power, if not a dominant power. I mean, they're one of the hugest booths here at CES, if that's any indication of how things are going. They had a keynote at CES last night and teamed up with Comcast and Time Warner and Hulu to talk about bringing television to multiple screens on Samsung devices. Sort of this idea of ultraviolet a little bit, but through the cable companies' way of doing things. So you get your video from the cable companies streaming on your tablets and your mobile phones.
So would that be interesting? Do you see that as, I didn't get the full story. Is it simulcast so that you can do that all simultaneously? Is it all individual screens? I mean, what's the connectivity and the communication amongst the devices that you perceive?
So you have a smart TV and a Samsung Galaxy Tab, right? And then if you're a subscriber to Time Warner and you've got the Time Warner internet and it authenticates you, yep, that's a Time Warner subscriber. You can watch that TV on the tab, and the smart TV allows you to get some on-demand stuff. There's tuners built in and all that kind of thing.
I see. I get it.
It feels like a step in the right direction, but still too complicated. If in like this balkanized
It feels like a step in the right direction for the cable companies.
For the cable,
but not one that we're going
Comcast
to
loves
embrace.
this.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
yes. I just think like if it's too balkanized, where it's like, oh, this thing only works with this one, and if you have this, then you can use the app that makes your thing work. Then it's
but
just
all
like,
the cord cutting options have the same problem, where certain services work with certain boxes, and everything's still complicated. This is just one more solution that isn't quite right, but they're trying.
Yeah, it's all you got to do is.
Right.
It's why Netflix.
It's not that
works.
hard. Okay, see this? This is what you plug into this.
And
Don't
then you
love
just
it?
you replace all your televisions and get a new cable service, and then you can do it.
And it's only $10 more a month.
Yeah, exactly. 10.
It's why
If
things
that.
like Netflix and Kindle are kind of working right now. Is like they have this very ubiquitous device kind of strategy where it's like we're going to be everywhere on everything and let you share it and put it, and then you don't have to kind of think about it as much. And as soon as the user has to think about like managing their media, it kind of the whole thing sort of breaks down.
Agreed. Too much work.
Another part of this, Samsung announced that they would offer Blu-ray players embedded with Google software. So the Google TV. In fact, if you go by the Samsung booth, you can find some Google TV-enabled Samsung devices. They didn't make a big deal out of it, the keynote, though. A lot of people thought they would, but maybe they're not quite ready to promote it.
Quick vote, starting with Jason. Google TV tipping point. Is it in? Is it going to make it? What do you feel from the show? Yes or no?
No, I don't feel confident enough to say yes. I'll say it's a tepid no.
Sarah?
I think Google TV, yes, Google TV has a fighting chance. I mean, those folks over there, they know what they're doing. CES was kind of a bust for them because Google's sort of going, just don't talk about it. We're not ready. They're just not ready. And they made the mistake of getting everyone excited about it too early. But I don't think it's over.
Tom?
Yeah, I agree with Sarah. They've got a fighting chance, absolutely. This is not the tipping point here, though. This is not the place to evaluate Google TV. They made a good choice in saying, you know what, don't promote
just downplay
these devices. Let's hold off until we actually have revved into the next generation of this, when it's usable and offers more features, and we've taken care of a lot of these problems.
And it's easy
I'd
for
agree with that.
us to say, ooh, Google told everybody not to talk about stuff. That's not a good sign, but a much worse sign would be all of us using stuff that isn't working right.
Yeah.
And we're just absolutely panning it, which
Yeah.
we were, and most of us did that used it. It was just like, ooh, not ready for prime time yet.
Going back to this whole, groundswell around the word ecosystem, when I saw Vizio come out with TV, tablet, and phone all running Google, it's weird. I can't get an answer from them whether the TV's running Android or if it's whether it has Google TV on it, and I honestly don't know the difference. But the fact that there's this true trifecta of products that all speak the same language, that to me suddenly went ding, ding, ding. If that happens, Google TV, boom, tipped.
Now, when Google and iOS, when Android and iOS go to TV, I believe when they get like maybe embedded in TVs or have dongles that are app capable to where you can take apps to the TV, I think that's the game changer, because then I think that's when interactive TV comes. Because then all of a sudden you can turn that app into a channel. The distribution model of broadcast will get completely turned on its head. That's the game changer, but I don't think either of them have quite figured it out yet. But I think Google could still potentially be the leader there.
My what I'm waiting for is I've got my tablet, I'm watching my TV, and we know two-screen viewing is huge right now in terms of you've got the big screen and the little screen. I've got my ABC News app up here. I see a video I want to see, I put my finger on it, I flick it towards my TV, and it starts playing in the big screen. That's the day when this all makes sense to me.
Avatar,
and that's what Vizio is trying to do with their tablets and their smartphones. Is not so much the flick motion, but you can stop playing a video on one, pick it up on the TV because you've got the same apps on all of them.
AirPlay does a little bit of that already. Also, DLNA.
Yeah. What you said.
Yes, that. You can do that a little bit. HTC has a little app that with a DNL-enabled TV or their little mini dongle,
and
you
Samsung's
can do that.
new
You can start.
little controller does that
That's
too.
True.
Yeah.
That's true. So that we're not that far away. We're maybe the flick motion, but the flick motion just does essentially what we have now, where
UI,
it just pushes the button that says, send it to the TV.
All right, this episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by Gazelle, because you're going to try to buy a lot of these items if they ever come out from CES. I'm sure you're gadget hungry watching all of this stuff, and you're going to want to get rid of some of the older stuff. Gazelle is the easiest way to make money off of your old gadgets. If you're a procrastinator like me, go to Gazelle.com, look up your gadget. They have over 200,000 unique items listed that you can get money for, and you can be as lazy or lazier than I am and still make the money. You type in your gadget, you put whether you have the wire, what condition it's in, they'll quote you a number, and then you print out a label, pack it up, and send it to them. If you're really lazy, you can have them send you the box. They'll actually send you the box with the labels, so you can just put it in there and drop it off at the mail office and send it away. Check it out, your smartphone, your MP3 player, your ebook, your readers, whatever you're getting rid of, look it up on Gazelle. And even if it isn't worth anything, if it's a little old and they're like, you know what, we can't resell it, they will accept it for recycling. So you don't have to feel like, oh, I don't want to throw this away and have it end up in a landfill, but I don't know what to do with it. Check out Gazelle.com. They'll give you cash for your used gadgets. They'll pay you in gift certificates for Amazon or Walmart. They'll pay you in cash. They'll send you a check, send it to PayPal. And as a listener of TWiT, you get a 5% bonus when you use the offer code TWiT, T-W-I-T. So check them out. Go to Gazelle.com. Use that bonus code when you sell your used gadgets. Make 5% more cash than you would already. All right, we got 2 news fuses, as you may be aware, here at the CES in Las Vegas. The first one focuses on the CES-oriented news fuse items, and so I like to call it our CES Las Fuses.
Thank you very much.
Panasonic President Fumio Atsubo said the company has started the process of establishing broad 3D health and safety guidelines for electronics manufacturers, content makers, and broadcasters. While there's no medical evidence to link 3D with health-related side effects, Nintendo and Toshiba have issued health warnings, so it's time for the industry to kind of agree on all of this stuff.
General Motors showed off the NV electric networked vehicle prototype here at CES. Leo got to take a spin in one and immediately was ready to go out and throw his money down and buy it.
He got out and said, I want to buy one.
It's sweet.
That's his reaction whenever he's like instead of a reviewer who would say, positive review, Leo's like, I want to buy one. I love it. It's only, get this, 150 centimeters long. Kind of hard to believe that. It manages about 25 miles per hour, but GM has no plans to bring it into production soon, so sorry, boss.
Yeah, it's like 10-year thing.
Lady Gaga teamed up with Polaroid for 3 fashionable announcements. That was at CES here yesterday. The GL10, an instant printer with zero ink, or Zinc, as they've coined the term.
Because zero ink just takes too long.
No, yeah,
so exhausting.
No. Zinc technology for printing photos on the go. A revival of the Polaroid instant camera called the GL30, which isn't actually which is actually just an instant printer with a camera built in. So it's not really like the retro Polaroid camera, but it's pretty cool. And the Gaga-est of them all, the GL20 camera glasses that you put on, you take pictures, and then you display them instantly on LCD screens built into the lenses. Now, I have kind of a funny side story about this because I was not here for the Gaga keynote presentation yesterday. I was in our hotel room editing an iPad today, so I was like, oh man, that kind of would have been cool. So I went over there this morning just to get somebody from Polaroid to show off this unit. And nobody there even really knew what I was talking about. And when I finally found a nice woman who said, oh yes, I know what you're talking about, she said, you know, we don't really have anything to say about the glasses, just read the press release. And I said, well, okay, it seems like I don't know, is it your first time at CES or something? Maybe we can at least look at them and get some B-roll. No, you can't touch the glasses.
Yeah.
So we said, okay, well, bye. I mean, we wanted to give you some publicity.
Thanks for bringing your product to this show and telling us about it.
Yeah,
like,
really.
wait, can we see it at least?
It was odd. I mean, it all sounds great, but we're here to demo stuff, not to read press releases. That's for people who aren't here.
Nice. All right, Verizon Wireless and Hewlett-Packard introduced the first notebook PCs for Verizon 4G LTE network late Thursday. The HP Pavilion DM1-3010NR and the compact CQ10-688NR. Please remember those numbers. There will be a quiz after. Are expected to provide fast online experiences and downloads and uploads within seconds. And the LTE network is crazy fast.
Super fast.
Really good.
Hulu Plus has finally been confirmed for the Android platform. You Android users will be happy to know Samsung's helping Google and Hulu work out their differences. And Hulu CEO Jason Kilar demoed the Code Complete app running on a Galaxy S smartphone. No word on a release date, though, so I don't know if all the differences have been worked out yet.
Move Over Connect. Next up is motion control. Hunter Smith and Christopher Culver from Waterloo Labs, a research group within National Instruments, are demonstrating an interesting prototype that uses, get this, the motion of your eyeballs to control things on a screen. So when you look left, it creates a certain voltage, and when you look right, up, down, you get it, different voltages. They created a Dance Dance Revolution type game that only requires you to move your eyes instead of your feet. So all that justification that these motion games would help us to be active and fit just got thrown out the window with your eyeball movements.
Dance, eyes.
Step toward the holodeck.
This could be great for accessibility, though.
It'd be
think
awesome.
of it that way. It's pretty awesome. All right, now on to the regular news fuse. Apple's new Mac App Store delivered 1 million downloads in the first day, and all that in spite of new and creative ways to pirate software. Seems somebody found out you can copy 3 files from a free App Store app and place them in a copied paid app. And then that will circumvent the DRM and certify the copied paid app as if you had paid for it. At the same time, a group known as Hackulous says it has developed a program called Kickback, which can break the protection on any piece of App Store software.
Android has finally taken the crown for top dog in the U.S. according to ComScore. Android had 26% of the U.S. smartphone subscribers in the quarter ending in November 2010. Now, this is bettering the iPhone for the first time. The major victim of Android's ascendancy has actually been, this is not hard to guess, the BlackBerry. Their lead has contracted by 4.1%.
Google says it will. That's not me.
Oh, it's okay.
Go nuts with it. Go nuts.
Do you want to read it?
Take it.
We'll switch now.
Okay, we'll
Google
switch.
says it will fix a mobile phone bug that mistakenly sends text messages to the wrong people.
Hate it when that happens.
The glitch, which has hit a small portion of the company's Android mobile phones, first emerged last year. Those affected say some of the texts have ended up in the hands of random recipients.
Even worse, in the hands of just people you know that you didn't mean to text that can tell it was you.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, God, that's a pretty bad bug. Skype 5.1 for Windows just launched, and the video calling feature is no longer free.
Boo.
Boo. A day pass costs $4.99 for impromptu sessions, while a monthly subscription can be had for $8.99 with a 33% discount available to anyone signing up for 3 or 12-month subscriptions over the next 30 days. Two-way video calling is still free.
Microsoft really thinks they finally fixed that bug that's been leaving Hotmail users without their email for the first part of this year.
Oh, Hotmail.
Mike Shackwitz of the Hotmail team says the problem stemmed from an error with an automated script that Microsoft uses to test the service for errors in everyday usage. Apparently, part of the script's function is to clean its tracks once it's done creating the test accounts by eliminating all the email. But this time around, the testing jumped to the test group and went into real accounts and started cleaning up its tracks, eliminating everyone's email. Oops.
RapidShare has won a court ruling against Atari. Atari is in our news views?
Yes.
Really? Atari?
Yeah, and a modern-day story. Now
Wow.
look back.
That's fascinating.
I know.
Wow, Nolan Bushnell. Listen up, buddy. Come on, here we go. Has won a court ruling against Atari in the Higher Regional Court of Dusseldorf, Germany. This is all over whether RapidShare was responsible for pirated version of Alone in the Dark. The Higher Regional Court of Dusseldorf acknowledged RapidShare's efforts against the distribution of material that's protected by copyright and deemed that the additional measures required by Atari to be unreasonable or pointless. All this according to RapidShare. I'm so psyched we get to talk about Atari.
I know.
I just wish Leo could have read that one in his German accent.
know.
That would have been
The
cool.
Dusseldorf.
He could have pre-recorded it.
Yeah.
All right, we want to mention really quick that all of TWiT's CES coverage from the show floor is being produced and streamed live on the new tech TriCaster TCX D850. It places the capability of a television studio or a live production truck into a versatile 22-channel 4U rack mount system designed to meet the most demanding high-definition production requirements, and that would be this Consumer Electronics Show. For more information on the TriCaster, visit www.newtech.com.
Go
On to the
TriCaster.
calendar.
It's your birthday. Calendar. Samsung announcing dual-core smartphones, new tablets.
Oh, you'd call them superphones.
I like Superphone
All
better.
right.
I like super fast, super strong.
But then what happens
Superphone.
when superphones get cooler? What's better than a super
Ultra phone.
No,
Super duper phones.
megaphone.
Oh,
That's what it should have been.
It's awful.
This is all going to happen at the Mobile World Congress, which is 2011, February 13th. We all excited about this?
Yeah, I'm interested to see what's left for Mobile World Congress, so this gives me an indication.
PlayStation phone.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think we'll see that at MWC for sure.
Yeah.
We've been seeing more and more pictures of that leaked out on the internet, and I think it's going to be called the Sony Ericsson Play. That seems to be the good odds. They're not going to brand it
The word
PlayStation.
play is played out. No one
Yeah.
else can use it.
Yeah.
It's goofball.
It's really starting to confuse me.
Speaking of phones, AT&T Windows phones are on Amazon. They're getting a 1-cent sale. We're talking about the Samsung Focus, the LG Quantum, HTC Surround. Deal running through January 17th, so you have a few days to mull it over. I'm looking at one. This is the Samsung Focus on AT&T. List price, you assume without contract, $499.99. 1 penny.
When
If
it
you get
goes
the
down to
2-year
1
contract.
Why don't
penny,
they
it
just say
typically
it's
doesn't go
free?
back up to $99.
Not usually. Yeah.
Wow.
All right, finishing up with an email to TNT@twit.tv. Dear Tom, Darren, and the rest of the Monday lineup. Didn't expect your email to get read today.
Hey, we won't take
It
offense.
says it was recently announced that a phone was coming out with a Super AMOLED Plus screen. I wonder how that will compare to Apple's next iPhone, which according to rumor will have a double plus good screen, as well as a fix for its predecessor's ungood antenna. Little 1984 reference there.
These names of the different screens are really starting to get on my nerves, though. Like
your Retina display,
the Retina
dude.
display, and now like the QHD display is a new
At
one
least
that we
Retina
got.
display has some kind of root
In
in a
real world.
reason.
Yeah.
But
Well-
the QHD and the Super Plus
and Super
yeah.
AMOLED. It's like after a while, it just loses all meaning. It's just acronym of Palooza. But I will say the one on the screen on the Thunderbolt again was it's a better screen. But I tried to get them to tell me like what's different about this screen. Like what is it? What's like the name of it or anything? They didn't know. They just said it's just a really good screen.
Okay,
I said,
note,
all right.
note to superphone makers, I don't give a rip about a better screen at this point. Can you just get me some better audio? Please, take the screen money, get me a better speaker, get me a better microphone. I'm ticked. Okay? Enough.
She's mad and she's not going to
Wow.
take it
That's
anymore.
right.
And that's the end of the show, folks.
Whoa, we can't leave it on a bad note. I'm just kidding. I'm really perky. I'm just kidding. I'm happy. I'm happy.
Thank you, Jason Hiner. I know you had a really busy schedule. I really appreciate taking time to talk with us. It was great to have you on the show today.
Absolutely. Enjoyed it.
Let folks know where they can find more of your work.
Yeah, you can find me on Tech Republic. My blog is called Tech Sanity Check. It's sanity.techrepublic.com, and you can find me on Twitter at just Jason Hiner.
You can find us on the web at twit.tv/TNT. You can send us an email, tnt@twit.tv, or give us a call, 260-TNT-SHOW. We will see you from CES. Our recording time is tomorrow morning at like 9 or 9:30 a.m., and then we will be coming at you again Tuesday at our regular time, 2:30 p.m. No TNT on Monday. Instead, we give you a Saturday CES wrap-up with Becky Worley, Sarah Lane, and Veronica Belmont. We'll see you then.
All chicks.
Bye-bye.
And Tom.
Thanks for clarifying.